I want to ask you something. When you walk into a room, any room, do you almost have a physical reaction? Like you immediately clock what's wrong and you can't help but mentally reconfigure the entire space before you've even taken your coat off? If that's you, you have the eye. And the logical leap from there is pretty seductive. I have the eye, so I should start an interior design business. And I'm not here to talk you out of it. I'm here to tell you that having the eye and running a profitable design business are two completely different sports. One is art, the other is pure strategy. And today I want to talk about what the strategy actually looks like, because nobody talks about this part. I'm a self-taught interior designer based in Vancouver. No degree, no formal training, no industry connections when I started. I figured it out through a lot of trial and error and honestly, a lot of expensive mistakes. I also run a coaching program for aspiring designers, and through that work, I've seen the same patterns come up over and over. The same things that hold people back, the same misconceptions about what this industry actually requires. So that's what this video is. The reality check I wish someone had given me when I was starting out. The first thing I want to address is perfectionism. And I bring this up first because it is the number one thing that stops designers from even starting. Designers are perfectionists by nature. We obsess over a 1/16 inch difference in a tile grout line. That attention to detail is genuinely what makes us good at what we do. But the thing is, that exact same trait can kill your business before it even gets off the ground. What I constantly see with new designers is this. They can't start because they need the perfect logo first, the perfect name, the perfect website, the perfect portfolio. They treat the business setup like a design project, like something that needs to be completely finished before the grand unveiling. But here's something nobody tells you when you're starting out. The business you launch on day one is almost guaranteed to look nothing like the business you're running 2 years later. That's not a flaw in the plan. That's just how this works. Let's say right now you're convinced you want to work with high-end clients on luxury projects because that's what fills your Pinterest board and that's what gets the most saves on Instagram. So you spend months and probably a lot of money building an entire brand around that niche. The logo, the website, the messaging, all of it screaming luxury. And then you actually land one of those clients and realize the experience is nothing like the fantasy. Maybe the budget politics are a nightmare. Maybe you're miserable because of their personalities. Maybe you discover that what actually lights you up is helping a young family turn a chaotic house into a home that actually works for them. But now you're stuck. You've built your entire identity around something you don't even want anymore before you had enough information to know what you actually wanted. Don't do that to yourself. Keep it loose early on and take the steps. Just start walking. You can figure out the destination as you go. And I say that from experience. When I started out, I only took on furniture and styling projects. Partly because I thought it would be easier, partly because it was a lower barrier to entry, and honestly, partly because I was new and I didn't have the confidence yet to take on larger renovation projects. So that's where I started. But pretty quickly, I realized I didn't actually enjoy it. Furnishing and styling just wasn't where my energy wanted to go. So I pivoted to renovations, and now about 90% of my clients are renovation-based. That's where I thrive. But the thing is, if I had locked myself into a furniture and styling brand in those early months, spent money on branding, built my whole identity around it, I would have wasted all of that time and money building something I wasn't even happy to be in. The flexibility I had early on is what allowed me to figure out what actually fit. Now, the big question is, how are you going to get clients? This is the question most new designers avoid thinking about because it's uncomfortable. And I get it. It's much more fun to think about showrooms and fabric samples than it is to think about lead generation. But if you can't answer this question, you don't have a business yet. You have a hobby. So let's go through the main options honestly. Social media. Most new designers assume that if they post beautiful work consistently, clients will find them. Or they'll use the right trending audio, go viral, and their DMs will overflow. Social media is helpful and 100% necessary for building brand authority over time, but this alone will not launch your business. Followers are not leads. You can have 10,000 followers and 0 clients. Social media is a long game, and it works best as a credibility builder, not a primary acquisition channel when you're just starting out. Ads. You can run ads without spending a fortune. Set a limit, see what happens, but be mentally prepared to lose that money and get nothing back. I've seen designers get clients after running ads for a week. And I've seen designers run ads for a year with 0 clients to show for it. I currently run ads for my coaching program, and I'll be straight with you. It is a roller coaster. You have to track every metric obsessively. How many people clicked? How many submitted a form? How many booked a call? It's a lot of work, and it requires a tolerance for uncertainty that not everyone has. Referrals. This is how I get all of my design clients now. Is it smart to rely only on referrals? Absolutely not. But I have 2 businesses and a child, and I'm very privileged to say that I get more referrals than I can handle these days. The thing is, I can only rely on referrals now because I spent years building the relationships and the reputation that generates them. When you're starting out, you don't have that system yet. So referrals alone is a dangerous strategy early on. The people who can send you consistent referrals once you start building those relationships, realtors, contractors, architects, get in front of those people. And if getting clients feels like the biggest question mark right now, that's exactly what I work on with my students. Client acquisition looks different for everyone depending on your situation, your strengths, and your market. So rather than giving a one-size-fits-all answer, I help you figure out the strategy that actually makes sense for you specifically. If that sounds like what you need, the link to book a free call is in the description. The honest answer is that when you're starting out, you have to try different things to figure out what works for you. But whatever you choose, know that it's going to take time. There are no shortcuts to client acquisition that I'm aware of. And anyone who tells you otherwise is full of shit. Once you have a plan for getting clients, you need to get clear on what you're actually offering. Are you doing full service design, furniture only, virtual design, finished selections, e-design? And to be honest, you might not know the answer yet, and that's okay. And like most things in life, you won't fully know what you like and what you're good at until you try it, which is exactly why I said earlier to keep it loose. Because the only way I figured out that furniture and styling wasn't for me was by actually doing it. You can research and theorize all you want, but at some point you just have to get in there and find out. People ask me if I went the renovation route because there's more money in it. Honestly, that's not even the case. You can arguably make more doing furniture and styling because you can charge a flat design fee and also mark up the entire furniture budget. I chose renovation because it's what I love. On the money side, I'll share what I make per project, not to brag, but because I know the fear that this industry won't pay well is one of the main reasons people hesitate to go for it. That was definitely one of my reasons for starting later than I should have. But now my projects average around $25,000 to $30,000 per project. That's my design fee, not the client's total budget, which means I only need a handful of good clients a year to make 6 figures. That changes the math a little, right? But the point isn't to copy my service model. It's to build a service menu that actually fits your life. Full service projects take longer, but you need fewer of them. E-design clients are quicker, but you need significantly more. Maybe e-design is the only option that works for you because it's location independent. Figure out what fits your actual life, not what looks good on someone else's Instagram. Now the question is, what are you going to charge? This is the question that makes everyone sweat. And there's no single right number, but there is definitely a wrong one. And in my experience, new designers almost always get it wrong in the same direction. You are undercharging by a lot. And I don't never, ever want to hear you're doing a project for free because it's for a friend or a family member. Frankly, they should be paying you more because it's going to be much easier for them to cross your business boundary by texting and calling at odd hours and talking about your project when it's time for you to relax and have fun. I have a lot of opinions about this, so I might even make a separate video on this topic. Pricing is uncomfortable because it brings up every insecurity you have. Imposter syndrome, fear of being seen, fear of rejection, all of it. And so the instinct is to charge less to make it easier for people to say yes. But here's what that actually costs you. Getting paid $10,000 sounds great, but did you track your hours? Because if you divide that $10,000 by the number of hours you actually worked on that project, did you make a real income or did you effectively pay yourself below minimum wage? Track your hours from day one, even just for your own back-end awareness. It will tell you very quickly whether your pricing is actually working. The other thing pricing does is filter your clients. Higher prices filter out the people who are going to be a headache anyway. The ones who question every invoice, micromanage every decision, and make you dread opening your inbox. Pricing isn't just about income, it's about who you end up working with. Beyond marketing and pricing, there are a few foundational things you need to have in place before you start taking clients. Number one, your client process. Once you actually get a client, do you know how to guide them through the entire project from start to finish? This is something I specifically teach my students because the number of designers who get their first client and then scramble trying to figure out what comes next is higher than you think. I was definitely in that category when I started out, and it wasn't fun. You shouldn't be building your car while you're driving it. And with the right process in place, you won't have to. Number two, delegation. I know this feels premature when you're just starting out, but hear me out. In the early days, you are going to be lacking skills in certain areas, especially software. Trying to do everything yourself when you don't have the skills yet will slow you down and cost you clients. Hiring or delegating early, even in small ways, is something I wish someone had told me to do sooner. Number three, foundational knowledge. This covers everything from understanding how a project actually runs, to how to communicate with contractors and trades, to how to present concepts to clients in a way that builds confidence. A lot of this you'll learn by doing, but going in with a foundation means you spend less time lost and more time actually moving forward. And look, I know this feels like a lot. If you've been sitting on your dream for a while and you're not sure where to even begin, that's completely normal. The thing is, you don't have to figure it all out on your own. My program covers everything I just talked about and more so that you can build your business with a clear path in front of you instead of just guessing what comes next. Starting a design business will bring every insecurity you have to the surface. Imposter syndrome, fear of being seen, money stuff, all of it. But that's not a sign that you're not cut out for this. That's just what building something from scratch actually feels like. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You're not just building a portfolio, you're rebuilding yourself. And that takes time and it takes support. And if you're ready to stop figuring it out alone, you know where to find me. The link to book a free call is in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.